Good morning. I posted this video about, 13, 14, 15 hours ago, and there have been some questions arise about the Pro Tour. And I've seen these comments on Facebook for the last couple days. I assume that players or these media companies are telling people things, or at least not being up to date on their tellings, and then maybe not updating it for whatever reason, whether it's a lack of knowledge or they're just electing not to. So let's jump right into the Pro Tour card and what the problems were for this year. So one, a lot of the stuff that was signed or proposed this year is the exact same stuff that was last year. And people now are reading it and being more aware, which is fantastic. And let me preface by saying I'm on no side here. Obviously, I've done my fair share of making fun of the Pro Tour, and I also don't agree with every single route that the players, including myself, have taken. So this is more of an informational thing for the public. I'm from someone who actually knows what's going on versus people who are begging others to leak contracts or whatever. So overall what's happening, obviously, is the Pro Tour is trying to, I'm just going to use the word monopolize because I don't know a better word, and the players finally fought back. When it comes to the payouts, so I think that this is a big thing that people kind of didn't know about, is the payouts were, are, have been, whatever word you'd like to use, showing up a little tardy. And by a little tardy, I mean sometimes a week or two and sometimes a couple months. And I know that Jeff Spring has said that, 90% of the payouts have been paid out on time. Well, if I paid my mortgage on time 90% of the time, and the other 10% I paid it 2 months late, probably wouldn't have much of a house anymore. In the real world, you don't get to have contractors come do work, which is what we're signing. We pay to play these events. We pay to have a tour card. We pay to be in the tournament. We pay to have a parking spot. We pay, so we're paying to be there, and then they're rounding up sponsorship money and, DGN money and ticket money and redistributing it to us players. But this isn't an invite thing where it's like, hey, come play for free, and if you win, you get 20 grand. No, we're paying into this hotel, rental car, Airbnb, entry fee, tour card fee, all of this stuff, to, be getting our payout, weeks or months late sometimes. And I'm not by any means saying it's every time, but late payments, for anything is not good. I mean, on your credit score, you get dinged. I mean, and especially when it's more than one time or more than one person, it starts to raise a red flag. And then, the Pro Tour implemented I'm going to just call it a fee system for us signing up for this tour card. So it went $850 amount of time up to $1,000 amount of time up to, I think, $1,150. And again, to me, I read that as, okay, you want us to pay on time or your time frame, but then when we don't pay you when you want, you're going to incur, I'm just going to call it a fee. I don't believe that's how the Pro Tour meant it to be, was it like a late fee? But obviously they wanted to incentivize, I guess, people to pay earlier. But we don't have a rule, right? There's no, hey, if you don't sign up for the tour card in 2 weeks, it's a late fee. The PDGA has a rule for 48 hours to be paid out for a tournament. So that means that when we finish a Pro Tour event on Sunday, theoretically by Tuesday evening, we should be getting our money by the PDGA rules. Well, the PDGA and the Pro Tour obviously are like this, and the official tour of the PDGA is the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So when they don't pay on time or they whatever, I think it just kind of gets wiped under the rug. Where it rubbed me wrong in this situation was, again, you paying us a little tardy at times, some more than others. Maybe it's just a couple hours, maybe it's just a couple days, maybe it's a couple months. But then when we don't oblige to your payment schedule, I think the fee, air quotes, you guys love them, ended up being like 17%. So if every 2 weeks that, let's just say Missy didn't get her $35,000 payout, that would be what, 8 fees of 17%. Do the math. I mean, that's a pretty big difference. So when you're asking your players that pay to be on your tour to do something that you're not willing to do, I think that is where you end up with a bunch of upset people. And what happened, excuse me, is people started then reading the other things and started being involved in the other parts of the contract. Going, oh, well, if you're adding this here, what are you adding over there? And I think another one of the biggest hang-ups, and rightfully so, is this whole like kind of non-compete. You can't play in another event the same weekend as a Pro Tour event, yada, yada, yada. Again, as a independent contractor that just makes I guess maybe not me so much anymore, but, for Andrew Marweed, who just makes his own schedule and whatever tournament's best for him and whatever event aligns with where he's going, or maybe he has family over there or whatever. To be told you can't play something when you're just going there, paying an entry fee, and trying to make your money back or make a little bit of profit seems absolutely insane. Obviously, the LIV Tour and the PGA Tour have a distinct kind of non-compete clause, but the guys who went to LIV, some of them got paid hundreds of millions of dollars. For hundreds of millions of dollars, yeah, I will help set up every Pro Tour event and break it down every week. But when you get, let's say, 20th place and you're getting $800, it's pretty hard to tell someone, oh, you can't go play this A tier, or you can't go do something else this weekend because we have a Pro Tour event and you can't compete with that. And again, so just to clear the air on that, they have taken that out. The clause is no longer there. I think they realized that they might have been overstepping boundaries or that they have taken it too far. So I think the three main things, from what I've gathered from being a player, seeing the stuff online, is the late fee kind of for the tour card situation, which again, I strongly disagree with. It's not like the Pro Tour has been that great at paying on time, kind of in the history of the thing. And especially, I think, when it comes to following the PDGA's guidelines of 48 hours. I think that if the PDGA has a guideline, and that's what it is, then whether you have to write a check when everyone finishes hole 18 or whatever, the excuse might be to not be paying on time. I think that it's kind of bull, and they need to do a better job. So, I just think that there was miscommunications some places. And like I said, this isn't a defense of the Pro Tour and or, me being totally on the side of the players. I've been speaking up about late payouts for 6 years now. And now all of a sudden people seem to jump on board and care when I've been saying it's been ridiculous for a long time. So I don't know. I think that we're just in this weird spot in the sport where the sport's starting to tighten up a bit and the sponsorship dollars are kind of starting to leave the players a little bit. I know that there's probably a pretty good amount of really talented people, both on the MPO, FPO side, media side, that are going to see the restrictions of this sport tightening up, and I think that might make them a little bit more uneasy about the Pro Tour maybe trying to overstep their boundaries a bit or take it too far. But yeah, overall, I just think that the transparency is what the Disc Golf Pro Tour lacks. If you're going to pay us a week late because the way your bank account's set up or whatever, then communicate that with the players. Say, hey, listen, so-and-so, we're having a difficulty. Your payout's going to be a couple days later, a week late. And I'm sure that most people would understand, or say, hey, can you send me $2,000 now so I can, pay my bills or whatever. And then, yeah, when you get the other 8, send it on over. I think it would be, people would understand more and it wouldn't become this big uproar. I know for me, if someone owed me some money and said, hey man, listen, having a tough time, we're going to get this to you as soon as possible. Here's a couple grand to hold you over. I'm very sorry, we'll get it to you. I think you're more reasonable and more willing to work with somebody who you feel is being upfront and honest. And I've told Jeff Spring this via phone call. I don't think that they do that very well. I think that they just kind of hold tight and go, oh, well, it's coming when it's coming. And it's like, I don't care how much money it is, paying someone months late is literally disrespectful and uncalled for, period. Write a check if the money's in the bank. Venmo, PayPal, there's so many ways to send money. I mean, I could send Apple Cash in 5 seconds, Venmo in 5 seconds, PayPal in 5 seconds. There's no reason to be months and months late unless there's a cash flow problem. That's a topic for another video, but To pay egregiously late is simply ridiculous. So I'm glad the players finally stood up. I'm glad that they band together for once ever and, maybe push the Pro Tour to do some of these things. But in the Pro Tour's defense, I will say that a lot of these issues that I see on Facebook, on Twitter, on other accounts have already been remedied. There's been meetings, there's been things that I assume the public doesn't know about, and I'm just coming out to say simply for the fact that the Pro Tour kind of stops getting dragged, that like they have relinquished some of these ridiculous asks that they previously had in there, and some of them like the NIL deal. I understand that the wording was like, oh, we have your your likeness forever, but I think they just played like the 2022 Pro Tour finals on ESPN2 or whatever not that long ago, and it's like whoever was in that video, they still need to have rights to use it, and media, and if they post on social media from Macbeth winning 10 years ago, they're gonna need his permission to post that stuff, or else you're using someone's likeness without their permission. So some of the wording is just sounds intrusive because we as disc golfers maybe don't know better or whatever, and some of it actually is intrusive. But I think the NIL thing, I think that them having to own the footage and the photos and stuff forever makes sense. I mean, and in my opinion, I hate this might sound rude, and frankly, at this point, I don't really care. I think a lot of the people that were worried about the NIL deal and the likeness lasting forever are people that the Pro Tour is not going to use their likeness forever. Like simply, there's not going to be a XYZ person being promoted for the Pro Tour in 10 years, 8 years after they retired or whatever it might be. So I think overall it was somewhat of a miscommunication, somewhat of a overstepping of boundaries, somewhat of a pushing how far we can go before there's backlash. And like I said, the Pro Tour has gotten backlash, as you guys have seen, and it seems as if they've remedied it. Even for next year, they've come out and said that, for 2025, they've come out with a pretty, I'm not going to say strict, but they figured out the payment system, how to be on time. Why it's 10 years later, I'm unsure. Why it's 6 years after new management, I'm unsure. But they have said that they've remedied the problem. But more than anything, I posted that video yesterday. There was a bunch of comments on there that seemed misinformed, which is fine. I get it. Not everyone knows what's going on. And like I said, I think the media outlets that are reporting on this are maybe not doing the best job of being up to date. But either way, that's kind of my breakdown of the Pro Tour card and kind of what happened from both sides. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video. We'll see you in the next one.